Hello and welcome to 11FS Spotlight. I'm David Brear, the CEO of 11FS, and in this show we shine a bit of a spotlight on the best and brightest in the tech and financial services industry to try and understand what is it that gets them going, growing, and really what they think the future of the industry will look like. On today's Spotlight, I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Barney Hussey-Yeo, who is the founder and CEO of Cleo. Thanks very much for joining us today, Barney. How's it going?
Well, thanks for having me. I'm good.
No worries. What we're going to be doing is having a bit of a trip back on memory lane, really, to go a little bit through Barney's career, take a bit of a mini deep dive into how fintechs can really harness the power of AI. So there's a lot of discussion to get into. Probably should get into it. I guess, Barney, to get us started on this one, do you want to give us the elevator pitch for Cleo? Because a lot of people, we've got an international listenership. Not everybody will know you guys. So give us the background.
Yeah, sure. So started the business 6 years ago. We're trying to build a powerful financial assistant for 1 billion people. So we kind of believe that you've had the PC revolution, you've had the internet revolution, you've had the mobile revolution, and the AI revolution is the clear thing that is happening next in financial services, but also just as platforms as a whole, computing. So we believe that there'll be these kind of really, really powerful agents that work on your behalf in the most important domains in your life, whether that's health, wealth, fitness, money. And we think that in financial services, it's probably the area you have the most impact on humanity and the most impact on society. So if we can, in 5 years, get hundreds of millions of people to love and trust Cleo, to build that relationship with her and to actually grow their wealth with it, that's a great thing for society. And obviously that's a great thing as a business as well. So we're kind of part way on that journey. We're about a 50 million ARR business. We grew 2.4x year on year last year, and we're 100% US based. So we serve kind of Gen Z and millennial audience across the States, mainly kind of East and West Coast, and we help them kind of build their wealth and grow.
Fantastic. I mean, that's amazing growth. And as you say, to have cracked the US, which we'll sort of come on in a little bit, that's a huge thing. But how do you sort of differentiate yourself from your competitors then? Because obviously the time when you started the business 6 years ago, then, people were talking about AI in very broad terms, weren't they, in terms of what that meant and what you could do with it. But really the underpinning connectivity, even data connectivity, mobile phones and, carrying around wasn't quite there. So you guys were really ahead of the game when it came to making this thing happen. But how do you sort of distinguish yourself then from your competitors?
Yeah, I would say there's, it's 500 neobanks now, right? There's a huge amount of neobanks globally, and they all do a very similar thing. They provide a better banking experience and a kind of prettier card. They are better banks, essentially, and you've got all the guys that you serve as well. They're trying to catch up with the Monzos of the world. And we're not doing anything like that. Yes, we have our own card, we have our own financial products, but that's the boring bit of the business, I say. Sure. The thing that we're trying to do is build this AI. We're trying to change people's behavior. So we're not so much interested in just owning the financial income deposit relationship. We care about owning the kind of emotional and behavioral relationship with consumers. So everything that we focus on is on that AI. It's building Cleo as a kind of sentient superhuman being, which sounds very dystopian to get to. But yeah, there's a lot of neobanks. They're great. They kind of serve some audiences really well. But I find them really boring. Yeah. I find the financial products they offer really boring because of regulatory and the primitives that you can do with money. But they're very, very similar kind of businesses and products. And we want to be radically different. We want a radically different brand, a radically different product. We want something that feels kind of 5 to 10 years ahead of the rest of the market. But there's some brilliant businesses that I've just kind of absolutely trashed there. The Revoluts of the world, the Monzos of the world, they've grown hugely. And some of them are profitable as well. So you can't knock that as well. But yeah, that's what we're doing different.
Well, it's interesting, and it's interesting that your competitors are sort of not really your competitors in that space, isn't it? Is actually we sort of say like digital banking is essentially self-service still, yes. And it's a weird transitionary step that we're going in. If you sort of lay out that evolution of man in a banking sense, it's like, from tellers to who are giving you a level of service, or branch managers who are giving you a level of service, to, well, basically humans doing self-service. And as you say, I mean, love to death what Monzo and Starling and Revolut and all these guys have done, but it's better self-service.
Yes.
Whereas actually, what you're trying to do, I mean, I think the world is not looking for a more efficient onboarding process or a better way of checking your current account. Yep. Like, most people just don't care about banking and they want somebody to help them. I think that's the thing, right? So how I mean, how have you found the response to that? Because I mean, if you sit down, we're a big believer in jobs to be done. I'm sure you've sat down with thousands and thousands of customers and gone, hey, is this a thing? Like, what's the response when you sit down and go, well, we can start using AI to help solve some of these problems for you? People must snap your hand off.
Yeah, I think there's two vectors to this question. There's like, one, there's definitely been this, you analogize it quite well, but you've had these, 50 years ago, you had a bank manager you trusted. That's the person you get advice from. They would tell you the right products. You kind of, you really had a relationship with them. Fast forward today, you kind of have a call center, wherever it is. You don't have a relationship with your bank and you get no advice, no service from them. And it's very, it's very hands-off. It's very self-serve, as you say. So I think what we're trying to do is build that relationship back and build that trust back and build that kind of the advice and distribution of products, which I think is the real thing that you want as a bank. You want to own that the distribution of products that you're going to have. So I think that's a really important angle as well. But then in terms of the users and what we've learned, I kind of came about this in a roundabout way. I won't do the whole story, but making it simple and fun has been so important to the user experience. As you say, most normal people do not care about fintech. They do not care about banking. They don't want to think about their money. So making it really engaging, making it really fun. We have a roast mode. Millions of people have used this. It makes fun of them for their spending.
Wow.
And it's that kind of natural human kind of want to be able to talk to these AIs, which you're saying with ChatGPT and everything else.
Yeah.
But it's also just making it really delightful, turning something that's super boring, that is like graph stats built for the Excel people, built for bankers, and turning it to something that your mum would use or your little sister would use. So like we try to build products that are fun, that are simple, that turn the boring kind of complexity of APRs and rates and all this stuff into something normal people want to engage with. And when you look at our website or you look at our products, people are a bit like, whoa, it's a lot. But we're targeting a really young audience. We're trying to get them when they're kind of their first, second job in university and grow with them over time. So making money simple and fun is a real kind of superpower of Cleo's. And it's something that I don't think anyone else is doing. I don't think the banks, they couldn't get it past their compliance committee to do. So I think they should lean into it. They won't lean into it. And I think it's something that we're going to kind of really run with and build that relationship with people.
Yeah, I mean, that word relationship is critical to that, isn't it? I mean, like, can you imagine if Barclays turned around and was started making fun of me for making that second burger choice this week, you know what I mean? And the roast mode just wouldn't be a consideration. And so how have you gained the permission to talk to people in that way? Because, I mean, the relationship to do that is so critical, isn't it?
I think you'd be so surprised at what you can say to users and what you can get away with, actually. Yeah. People are so scared of what they can say to their customer, and it's such a serious topic, and you must be really serious about it. Having some humor, having some comedy. We've got 7 comedians for a fintech on our staff, which is absolutely mind-blowing. But people love it. They love the engagement. They love that we make fun of them. They love that we're kind of with them on their side, and we're building them up as well. And I just think, like people will never get it. Like our competitors will never get it. They will always think, you've got to be boring, you've got to be serious. This is personal finance, this is really serious stuff. And yes, there are moments where you've got to be really serious. You can't talk about someone in debt in a really bad way, but by and large, you can rip someone for that 5th pint on a night out or whatever it was. Like people love it. People really do truly love it.
Well, then it creates a different level of dialogue, a different level of engagement. But maybe sort of talking a bit more about your background then. I mean, how did, obviously, the last 6 years have been, incredibly busy, and you've learned an amazing amount on that journey. But talk to us a little bit about before then. Like, how did you get to found your own business, and where did you learn all of the experiences to even be brave enough to start that journey?
Yeah, I think I've got incredibly lucky, if I'm really honest. I studied computer science. I got really into machine learning in my undergrad, and I went and did my master's in machine learning. And I kind of knew from a few of my professors, I just knew this was the thing. Like, if I looked at the trajectory of machine learning at that time, it was in this kind of renaissance moment, and it was accelerating so quickly. So you just had computer vision being able to beat humans in that regard. Everything was just really flourishing, and I thought this was the thing that I was going to dedicate 20, 30, the rest of my life to. So I was really passionate about that, and I kind of just got it more than I think most people did. So I went all in on that. I became a data scientist in a fintech company, Wonga, in its kind of heyday. When I joined, it was the Monzo of 3-4 years ago. I had great staff, great people. But the thing I learned, and the thing that really drives Cleo today, is just how bad the problem is in terms of people and their financial health. If you looked at the Wonga base of customers, it was the same story again and again, where they'd been pushed a huge amount of credit by the retail banks, but they'd been given no help.
Yeah.
So my mission and kind of why I set out to build a company was that's such a broken space, and it was not being tackled by anyone. No one was helping people make better decisions with their money. No one was trying to improve people's financial health. And if I could make a small difference to that trajectory when you're a 20 to 30-year-old and helping you spend less on credit cards, helping you make better decisions, that would have a compound to a really big impact on society. So I kind of just took the plunge. I joined Entrepreneur First, who again are another kind of AI first. Matt Clifford he got it very early, and he has put all of his time and his energy, and so has Alice, into investing in the best machine learning talent and helping them build companies. If I look at my cohort, 90% of the companies, they had a PhD or a master's in machine learning. So anyway, I joined EF and I was kind of off to the races then, and I've had some amazing mentors through the kind of years. And yeah, I started a business with 1 year working experience, which is a crazy, crazy thing to do. So I've learned a lot during that last 6 years. I've definitely aged a lot in that 6 years. It's a 20, 30-year journey in a very compressed period of time. But honestly, for the most ambitious people in the world, I think starting a company, even if you fail, and you will likely fail, is such a good way to kind of spend the early part of your life in that working career. So, I just feel incredibly fortunate for taking the plunge, essentially.
Yeah, like you say, the learning curve, the experiences, there's nothing quite like doing it to find out what it's like, and pivoting quickly to make those things happen, isn't it? It's the ultimate test and learn, isn't it?
100%. You know this better than anyone, like building the culture, building the team, making the business work. How many businesses does 11FS sell now? Quite a few.
Too many.
Too many.
Yeah. It's a difficult task, but actually, if you love the thing you do and you've got a real passion for solving a problem, then you kind of keep going every day, don't you? Which is nice. So, I mean, one of the things you touched on as part of the introduction, and I joked to you beforehand, it's kind of like you and the Beatles that have cracked the US. Like, actually, you were a UK-based, UK-founded team.
Yeah.
Talk us through how you went from, sort of focusing on the UK market, obviously the flurry of activity, 6+ years ago of fintech, but now predominantly doing most of your business over in the US.
It's definitely accidental. So there was no master plan, no strategy to do this. Essentially what happened is Plaid launched in Europe and also the US. So as we integrated Plaid, it opened up the US to us as a market. And within a week, we launched in the US. It was literally a week. The first day that we launched in the US, I had 20,000 Bank Connect signups because there had been that latent demand. People had seen the marketing, there'd been a wait list, et cetera, et cetera. Very, very quickly, we were growing faster in the US than we were in the UK or Canada. Bigger market, easier to acquire customers, lower CPA, all these things. And there was nothing in the US that was quite like it. And actually, if you think back to 6 years ago, there was better fintechs in the UK than the US. Like Monzo's, Revoluts were there. So there was really not that much competition in the US at the time. So we really flourished and we really differentiated ourselves in that market. So when COVID hit, we had a lot of monthly active users in the UK, lots in Canada and more in the US. We made the kind of hard decision. We were only a 50-person company at that time. We just raised our Series B. And it was, okay, we're going to need to extend runway. We're going to need to be really thoughtful about headcount costs. So we just doubled down on the US and put the UK and Canada on hold, which I think at the time was an amazing decision. It focused us, allowed us to build a great business. But now, I can't wait to come back to the UK and Europe and the rest of the world. We always talk about getting to 1 billion people at Cleo and building that relationship with 1 billion people. I can't get to 1 billion people in the US, so we're going to have to grow elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, that's an amazing challenge, trying to get to 1 billion in terms of, customers, the people that you're serving. That's a huge number, but, globally there is a lot of people and everywhere has very similar problems, doesn't it, from a financial services perspective? So, I mean, maybe if we talk about a little bit more about how Cleo does what it does when we talk about AI, as we said earlier on, a couple of years ago, AI was such and still is a very broad topic, but people are using specific parts of it now in much more intelligent ways, shall we say. So, I mean, how specifically do you use AI?
Yeah, so we've been doing natural language processing since the start of this. And the moment I started, it's actually they call them chatbots. There was a wave of excitement. We've been through the Gartner hype cycle now, but this was like a thing, and Facebook had a bot division, they had M, and people were really excited about these assistants. People then used them, including Cleo, and were like, oh my God, this just doesn't work. Like, computer says no, like it's no command found response. It's like where we go to when you don't find something. And really what's happened over the last 7-8 years is there's been this real exponential in natural language processing kind of progress. So if you think 5 years before it was computer vision, this 5 years or this 10 years, this decade has really been about language.
Yeah.
And the transformer architecture has just changed the game completely in terms of our ability to understand, our ability to consume, and our ability to basically build models that are generalized in their intelligence. They are learning concepts. There's emergent properties in these models which you wouldn't have, you're not building them to do that, but they're coming up with these abilities without you training them to do that. So transformers was a big change for us, and we've gone from BERT now to kind of GPT-4, and we use multiple models in different ways at Cleo. So we're using the latest LLMs, and it's an amazing time for kind of me. I'm fascinated by this, right? I spend my weekends coding and spending my time in LLMs. The progress is so quick over the last kind of year. I've never seen so much research activity from academia and from industry.
Yeah.
And the progress, like literally week to week, huge revolutions happen, huge new experiences are created with this, and our ability to unlock new things at Cleo and user experiences. It's just, we couldn't put enough capital to work if we had it on all the interesting things there are in this space. And I think, within 5 years, we're going to have something close to AGI. It's not going to be sentience, it's not going to have consciousness, but it's going to be superhuman in its ability to carry out a huge array of tasks. And I mean that's going to be really superhuman in its ability. And I think we're going to see this profound change in society, in capitalism, in everything, for the better and worse. And it's kind of really exciting for us to just be at that forefront of trying to drive these changes.
I guess it comes back because, as you say, and I think I've similarly spent a number of weekends playing around with it, going, oh my God, like there's so many people who are going to be really in trouble with what they do as a career. This can do now. So, but I guess sort of taking that back to the. We've seen revolutions in technology where people get really excited about cryptocurrency or blockchain or whatever, but it hasn't really changed the way in which consumers interact with financial services. I think, the really exciting things with you and people sort of creating that intersection between AI and financial services is it solves like massive problems for people, because I guess when we start talking about we were talking earlier on a little bit about self-service. It's a generic wall of financial services terms. Personalization has been a utopian sort of view of financial services for a really long time. But this gives you the ability to allow customers to be talked to in the way that they, ChatGPT, like explain compound interest to me like I'm a 5-year-old. Like,
it does it really well,
So actually the interface being what the consumer wants it to be, that's an amazing opportunity, isn't it?
I think that, there's two lenses to this as well. There's like the questions you can ask and the conversations you can have, and they're amazing conversations. I can do my retirement planning with Cleo I can say I want to retire by I'm 40, with Cleo, and she can like guide me through it. It is amazing what it can do, and the fact that we've got access to all your financial data, all your history. We're able to provide these experiences that kind of really do blow your mind at the moment. And then the second lens on this, which no one really talks about, is, and I think it's going to be a really important concept within AI and these systems, is we're all creating a lot of data every single day. Whether it's like you're tracking your fitness, your health, whatever it is, like your money, all this data is being created constantly around you. The ability for AI to kind of synthesize, analyze, and understand, and then play back the most important things to you, I think there's going to be some brilliant user experiences in this. And if you analogize it to financial services, you're proactively coming to the consumer before they even had to ask the question about what they need to know. And that's the ultimate personalization of you can direct their spending, you can direct the products they have. And fundamentally, all of us could save a huge amount of money if we spent, I know people at Cleo that have all the spreadsheets, they know all the best credit card rates, they know everything about it, and they're optimized really, really well, but they can still be optimized better. The vast majority of us, probably everyone in this room, doesn't do that. And there's so much money left on the table for normal consumers. And when we look at the fees they're charged every year by the big retail banks, there's just so much that can be given back to the consumer, which I'm really excited to see, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, and that gets you closer and closer to your objective, right? Actually serving people and helping them save money, maximize the potential that they've got from their wealth. Like that's a pretty good reason to get out of bed every day, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a real 10x product, right? It's if you can get people to fundamentally be wealthier, to save money, and you can play that back to them. This is, what's changed. This is what Cleo has done for you. That is so, so powerful. Like, you're not going to go to the bank that has the best customer call center and the best user experience. you're going to go to the bank that has your back. You're going to go to the bank that provides you the best products. You're going to go to the bank that saves you money and builds your financial health for you autonomously in the future, autonomously with you in the loop as well. But that's going to be such a revolution in retail banking, and that's going to be the big shift. It's going to go from nice user experiences, very domain specific, only kind of financial people can understand it, to something where you don't really have to think about it, and where this AI is just guiding you and directing you and kind of walking you through your life and your financial wealth. So to be able to, as a private company, change that trajectory even a little bit is something that I think our staff obviously are very, very passionate about. I think our investors somewhat passionate about, and I think the press and the wider world, like, they care about that.
Yeah. Do you think that's we talked a little bit about trust in the conversation and the interfaces. Do you think that's this is almost a territory that the big banks will struggle to go into because of that. The sort of concierge on the side, being on your side of those conversations in the way that you guys are. Do you think that is almost it's a pretty decent moat, as they'd say, from a territory perspective? Because if Barclays try and do what you do, or HSBC or whatever, it's not full market. It's not looking at all of the opportunities in the way that you guys can do. So, it's an interesting territory, isn't it?
Yeah, I think HSBC doesn't, like, in the future, doesn't have to sell all its own products. Maybe it won't. Yeah. Probably will try to for a long period of time for obvious reasons. But even if they could provide an advisor, that concierge service within their customer base to their right products, they could probably have massive conversion gains to all of their products. They could direct people to the best user experience. Yeah. The thing they'll always come up against is, as a bank, a lot of these products are kind of, they don't help consumers, right? They are set up in a way that they maximize profit by kind of getting a consumer more and more into debt. And that's their big thing they'll have to change. And the big thing...
Or hoping you forget that the interest rates dropped off, and therefore you're stuck on a product that gives you no savings for a period of time.
Exactly.
So the onus is on the individual. It's not on the organisation, isn't it? It goes back to that. There isn't the service. And I guess to your example with a fantastic Goldman Sachs lovely suit, like, they're only as good as the one you get, right? Whereas actually, if you have the consistency of AI or algorithms and services, and the ability to ingest data at a level that they never could do if there was just one individual, that's the potential to serve is huge, isn't it, in that way?
It's superhuman. It is going to be better, but if you look at AIs today, there's certain tasks that they can do far better than humans already. And they'll be able to take big domains like this, and they will be better than humans at that task. And then it's the ability to serve 1 billion people, like any software company does. When you're trying to scale financial advisors, you can only do it for the top 1% of your kind of clients. And it's a great kind of white glove service, and that actually drives lots of good things for that bank. But imagine if you could do that for all your customers. You could do that at scale across geographies, across products, across everything. That's the blockbuster moment, right, for retail banking. Yeah. Like, this is going to change what every single bank has to do. I don't think it's going to be the Chimes and the Cash apps that are really going to threaten Chase. Yeah. It's going to be this AI revolution and this switching of products away from Chase's product to Wells Fargo's product to et cetera, et cetera. So I think product distribution is going to be really fragmented, and it's going to completely change from what it looks like today. And that's great for the consumer. And it just means banks are forced to compete more and more against each other and provide services that actually help customers. Yeah. So they're going to have to disrupt themselves in lots of ways. They're going to have to find massive efficiencies, which they'll be able to do with AI. But I'm obviously like very, very bullish on this. And like some of this may take 10, 20 years, but it's happening really quickly. Yeah. Like did you listen to the Senate hearing with Sam Altman?
It was amazing,
It's like the world gets this, and the world knows that it's changing. So I think retail banking is probably going to be the most disrupted category of all categories I can think of. Yeah. But obviously I'm very, very biased in this opinion.
I mean, obviously, you guys, you had the capability, but Plaid, we talk about data ingestion. Getting access to the data is a huge part of that. Yeah. I mean, the US has been quite slow on the regulatory change for things like, open banking, et cetera. Yeah. I mean, that sounds like a good enough reason to come home and do this here as well, because, it's not just about prompting people, but obviously with things like variable recurring payments and everything, you can almost create not just the assistant to to prompt people, but this is sort of self-driving money, right?
Yeah.
Like that's really exciting. So, I mean, where are you guys going next? Like, what's the plans for Cleo? What's the misty mountain you're aiming towards?
Yeah, the data front, like that is, if you think you've got social data, you've got search data, they're two kind of really big, important bastions of like ability to create user experiences. Financial service data has been like locked up in the mainframes for like 20, 30 years. It does nothing to help you. Like, it's crazy. This is such amazing data. It's so like you can do so much with it. It's obviously very messy when it comes from those mainframes, etc. But Plaid has been amazing at being able to scale and provide access to that and doing that in more open banking territories. And we're going to be a great partner with them for a long time. But if I look at, Mexico, Australia, Japan, like everyone, because of the UK, is starting to do open banking.
Yep.
And it's taking a lot longer than I would obviously hope, but these things always do. But it's going to be like when every single country, and I think most of them will have open banking in some form, whether it's kind of private or whether it's government initiated, you'll be able to build experiences and you'll be able to help customers far more easily than when it was locked away in the silos of HSBC's kind of very dusty mainframe from the 70s.
Yeah. It's going to be amazing unlocking at that point, isn't it? But I mean, if I was in a big bank, I'd find that quite terrifying, though, because actually, it's the old manufacturing versus distribution play sort of created it again, isn't it? And if I'm a big bank and I'm left with all the cost, and you guys get to optimize the experience, then it's a very different world that we live in. But we've seen that in other industries, haven't we? I mean, mobile network operators have lived this, right? Vodafone was king of the world, and now they're just the little logo in the corner of your iPhone, right? So it's a very different world that we play in. I guess coming to the end of this, because I mean, you need to come back and we can talk much longer on all of these topics, because I think it's, to your point, 3 weeks from now, something will have changed and
100%.
Another opportunity will have arisen. But I guess kind of looking back on your career and looking back on what you've done with Cleo today, what would be the piece of advice you'd give somebody getting into the game and with their getting started in their career in that way as well? What would you point to as the tip?
So there's a lot, but I think for the most ambitious people in the world, like starting a company is one of the most hard and exhilarating things that you can do with your life. And if you're going to do anything in your kind of 20s to 30s, don't like give your soul to McKinsey or Bain or an investment bank.
Sure.
Don't give your soul to Google. Like, you're working for the machine. Go and try and build something. Go and try and do something. And then really, it's just like a horrible learning experience where you get punched in the face every day and you must keep going.
Yeah.
So that resilience it teaches you a lot. And some people are kind of naturally resilient, some people kind of learn. I think I've done both over that period. But starting a business and trying to grow it, so we're at $500 million valuation today, hopefully many more billion in the future. It takes a lot of punches in the faces and getting up and walking forward every single day to make that happen. So just don't give up. Like, go take the risk and don't give up would be my very cliched kind of 2 little bits of advice.
It's funny how many of those, when you're in the middle of doing something like that, when you're in the middle of building something, how many of those cliched, Steve Jobs things that you read and you're like, this is true, but only when you're in the middle of the latest punch in the face do you really get it. But it is an amazing journey, though, isn't it? I imagine you wouldn't trade it for anything, right?
No, 100%. Like, it's it's a great way to spend your time. And Cleo may still not work. Like, we're a really big business, we're nearly profitable, blah, blah, blah. But there's a probability we go down like every other startup in the world. And I wouldn't change anything for the world. Like, the ability to try and build something that people really love. Again, another cliched Y Combinator line. But I do really love it. And I think more people should try and be entrepreneurs. It's definitely not for everyone. If you have a nice, easy life where you've got lots of work-life balance, probably not the best choice. But for the right person, it's liberating for sure.
Very good. All right, we're going to have to leave it there, I'm afraid. That is all the time that we've got for you today. It's coming to the end of the show. Thank you so much, Barney, for joining me. Where can people find out a little bit more about you and all the stuff that you're getting up to at Cleo? Yeah,
we're meetcleo.com, and I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter. If you just search my name, I'm sure I'll pop up somewhere.
Fantastic. All right, guys. Well, that's all we have for you this week. If you make sure that you follow 11FS on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you find your social media at this stage, stay up to date with all of the cool stuff that we're doing. And if you enjoy the show, subscribe to the 11FS YouTube channel where you can find every other episode of the show as well. Have a great week, everybody. Goodbye.